welcome Exiles to what I'm going to be doing a Zero to Hero series on Giga Righteous Fire, a build I made back in Crucible League. You'll see here the thumbnails, 25,000 ES, 55, 46, 69,000. All of these setups had pretty dang good gear. Now, I am currently in a fresh start situation on a private league that Aero is hosting, and I'll leave a link in the description of this video for, where I'm level 69, I have 6,000 ES, and the thing about this is I wanted to showcase the difference in what here was we started out with a decent amount of gear, whereas here I'm starting out from pretty much nothing in terms of gear you could have within the first few hours of a league to give a better scope of what this build looks like if you're starting from scratch and the progression I am going to make throughout. Obviously, starting with the POB today, where we're a level 69 character. We have just killed Katava, and we are going to be running our first map on the character. Full disclosure, this is a group-found league, so a couple of items we have had given to us. Even though we haven't done really any maps, we had somebody in the league who already killed Shaper's Touch. The league's been open for about 2 or 3 days now. Somebody already killed Shaper and got a Shaper's Touch. This isn't particularly good at 600 strength. At 600 strength, a pair of rare gloves with like 200 ES is probably comparable to this. So ultimately, the gear, although I have a lot of the key pieces I need for scaling in the future, they're not really that good yet. So examples of this is Dune, Shaper's Touch. These are items that the scaling becomes pretty good, but initially this is equivalent to a mediocre rare scepter slash a bad rare scepter. For example, 600 strength with this scepter means as a whole, I'm getting about, I don't know, 80 to 100% increased damage. That's not very hard to beat. That is a Opal Scepter with a Benchcraft mod. It's not very good in the current state of my character, but it becomes much stronger when you scale it up, and I'm just starting out with it on here because why not have it on and just initially scale it up and see how it goes, even if just a regular Rare Scepter would be better at this point. Just funny to think about. Anyways, so it's a small group found league, and I am going to progress this, probably have to self-farm a lot of the key pieces of things that are necessary to really min-max this character, and we'll just see how it goes. I plan to do some daily updates on it, but for right now, let's go ahead and give you guys a showcase of what this character looks like in maps. We are currently a character with 89 max fire res, 6k ES, about 1200 regen that goes up to 5k whenever our Guardian procs, and we have questionable core scanning elixir sustain because I haven't gotten the quality on this flask yet, so it is a net degen, and eventually this will run out. But for practical use case of running a map, this should never go down, as I'm just killing monsters, generating some additional net charges. Eventually, when I get baubles to get 20 quality on this, this should be close to permanent sustain as long as I have a little bit of flash duration on my build. Currently, I have like 1 jewel with flash duration, I think, over here, and then I have Druidic Rite, which gives a little bit of flash duration. I'm going to swap these things around. Obviously, I don't want to keep Druidic Rite as my anoint because, it, 20% mana doesn't help on a blood magic character and all. But for right now, it's just the thing to do, or it's just helping me have some sustain on this to make sure it's up. As for auras, I am running Vitality and a low-level Precision and Clarity. These are just to get recovery rate from the Ascendancy from Scion. Vitality giving regen, so I level that up. And then I'm running Flesh and Stone, Arching Armor, Tempest Shield. These are all just basically my favorite go-to defensive auras. I just really like the combination of dealing with shock, dealing with freeze, and giving us damage reduction and some block at the same time. And then we have Malevolence on an Eternal Blessing for some DPS. If I wanted to go more tanky, like just make this character really tanky, I could go for Determination instead of Malevolence, but I'd rather go for single target. 6k ES with 90 fire res, good regen, is going to be plenty tanky for doing a T1 map, which technically this is what we'd be going into. Now, for this private league, I had started as a Guardian Zombie Slam character. I wasn't really liking the playstyle. The zombies were dying super easily. I wasn't having a lot of fun, and I was like, you know what, let's re-roll and do a project I'm actually excited about. Gigarf happens to be, if it's not my favorite build of all time, it's top 2. It's between this character and what I did last league with Righteous Fire as a mana version with a Guardian slash a Hierophant. I can't remember if I was a Guardian or a Hierophant. Basically, I was one or the other, and I was stealing a node from the other one. I can't remember which. But the point is, I really like Righteous Fire, and I really like it when it's min-maxed and scaled up to the moon. Righteous Fire is not a particularly strong skill. At the baseline of scaling, you're looking at a decent character will get somewhere in the range of 1 to 5 million DPS. To scale beyond that, you have to really have some exceptionally good gear and some exceptionally good scaling using things like Ivory Tower or using things like the Guardian's Radiant Faith combined with the Hierophant Sanctuary Thought and scaling up mana. Stuff like that is really necessary to push this sort of scaling up and up and up. So let's go ahead and give this a little showcase of just an initial map. We'll grab this vault map. We'll use a horizon orb on it, which hopefully will give me a map I can get some completion on, and just show you what this map would look like if we were just doing it, you know, early league and swapping over into this. Now, full disclosure, obviously some of my gear pieces are better than they should be because this is group found. I got some just random pieces handed to me of basically people's leftover gear that had way more res than I would normally have. Normally, entering maps, you can expect to be probably with Ghost Wraith, maybe the early, like, you know, 0 to 20, 30 chaos res range. And then with your other stuff, you can expect to be capped, but you're not going to be over capped like this. Obviously, we're over by 80 cold res and we're over by 120 fire res. You can chip off a lot of these resistances and you'll still be fine. I did do a test run, I want to say 2 leagues ago, where I tested Righteous Fire as a league starter to try to push Sanctum. And I did a Ghost Wraith setup like this with a Scion, and I believe I had a setup at level 70 that was around 7 to 8k ES. It was pretty high up there, and it was with gear you could buy with about I want to say, you know, 5 to 10 chaos from just doing a couple of demolition contracts really fast, you know, spend 10-20 minutes doing a few heists and you'd have the gear type of thing. But it was with a little bit smarter gearing. Like, obviously Dune in this current setup isn't good. Like, Dune right now is a benchcraft, like a 1 stat item, not very good. I'm using it just because I'm planning to use it throughout the whole run, and it just kind of feels like, you know, fun or whatever, even though it's not really what I should be using. And then outside of that, I also had a basic gear pieces. Like, I think I had a crown, the low level unique helmet that just comes with a bunch of flat ES. Crown of Thorns, I think is what it's called. Maybe. Comes with a lot of ES on it, type of thing. But anyways, the point is, I had a setup that was probably a bit stronger this in terms of like damage, just based on actually properly setting it up for what would be initially stronger, which is going more of a int scaling route and not necessarily trying to force the Shaper's Touch strength scaling, because this stuff isn't great until you really get some good gear to back it up, which I just don't really have at this point. And then we're doing things like Enduring Cry, Scorching Ray for exposure, and this is kind of what it looks like on a tier 4 map. It's not particularly exceptional damage, but it's a starting point. It's something to get us going initially, and then obviously as we scale to build up more, if I can get a Val version of Righteous Fire, then I can pop Val RF, and the DPS, the single target, will really start to come in fruition. This is just a starting point, and I'm excited about it. Hopefully you guys are excited about seeing some progression. There's a lot of times where I've seen people tell me, oh, I'm doing Gigarf from what you did in Crucible League, copying that sort of build. But the thing is, I don't have any videos on any gearing earlier than this setup right here, which this setup is already some fairly good gear to boot. And so maybe it's something where I want to try to give people more of a ladder progression that is, you know, just, you know, it's giving you something you can do before this point. Because before this point, there's, like, this is still really strong gear that I have here. And so it would be nice if I could find a way to showcase some progression. And that's what I think the series is going to mean for me, is doing a 0 to hero progression. Basically, each day on stream, I'll be playing this character, progressing it. And I will do that for the next, I think, 5 or 6 days. Basically, there's going to be a reset new league. GG is launching basically Settlers 2.0, which is really, it's just Settlers with a little bit of extra loot. It's mostly just a fresh economy reset. And for me, I like fresh economy resets. I don't like all this bloated currency I have laying around. It leads to me making stupid decisions, building things that aren't great. And if I reset my currency to 0, it's just, you know, it could be refreshing. So we're going to run this character and do this progression for about 5 days or 6 days. We'll see how many we get. This is obviously day number 1 of progression. We got through the campaign. And, you know, there was a little bit of stalling, a little bit of AFK time involved, but 8 hours of gameplay, level 69, not too much progression. But anyways, this is day 1, and I will continue the progression of this character. We'll see if you guys like seeing this character come to fruition. But this character is all about scaling that ES number to the moon, which then makes the Righteous Fire damage number go up, up, and up away with it as well. Hopefully you guys enjoy. As always, thanks for watching, Exiles. Take care, and peace out. Have a good one.